Good evening and welcome to the Bigfooty podcast. Tonight we talk over the Sydney loss very rapidly. We have nothing from Doc as usual. Jab is here and fired up, and we're in the second half of the program. We're going to go over the Collingwood Carlton rivalry with some Magpie people, but all that and more coming right up. And welcome to all of you this evening. We are joined, of course, by our old compatriots, the old Dark Navies.
Gentlemen.
DevoidOfCaring is here again.
People.
And JustaBattler is with us.
Good evening, people, and ferals.
and happydude is with us today.
Yeah, barely.
And I am, of course, the Wookiee. Look, we've got a lot to get through tonight, as we usually do. So, guys, your highlights from the weekend, if you had any.
Rain.
There was a lot of it. ODN, what was your highlight from the weekend?
Carlton getting to 50,000 members. That was a good one. One step closer to the MCG. So good on the membership team for getting out there and selling those 3-game memberships later in the season. And not a lot to smile about from Friday night, but if I was going to have a smile, it'll be about Lockie Henderson and Kate Simpson having good games.
Judd.
And Happy Dude, what was your highlight from the weekend, mate?
I actually had a pretty ordinary weekend, so I lost a lot of... it was just a no good weekend for all footy fronts, so I'll say I got one tip wrong. That's my highlight.
Fair enough. Every cloud has a silver lining, as it were. DevoidOfCaring, what was your highlight from the weekend, mate?
I'm a bit surprised Judd wasn't mentioned just then, ODN.
Well, mate, we're going to dissect the game, so...
Fair enough, all right. Highlight, I'll go with 100 tackles that we got. I think that was right, wasn't it? I think the tackle count was 100 to 95. Anyone confirm on that?
Well, I assume you'd done your homework.
I'll just say yes.
Yes.
Well, it's fine then.
Sounds all right. Sounds
okay.
right.
Stop.
Might get me in trouble one day, but I'll just say yes.
Doc makes plenty of shit. Yeah. 100 tackles.
Did you actually Google something, or you look something up?
Caught us off guard.
I remember seeing it.
195, spot on.
Yeah.
And JustaBattler, what was your highlight from the weekend?
When they jumped us in the first quarter, a couple of fluky goals, and made that Spud Tippett look good. But after that, I thought we matched them pretty much. You weren't going to get much of a game of football in those kinds of conditions. So I put it down to, another loss. But what's frustrating me is, all those so-called top 4 or 5 teams, they're not that much better than us. That's what's really frustrating me. And I can only conclude we've got to get some mongrel going.
Yeah.
That's my highlight, the lack of mongrel.
I guess
I wouldn't call that a highlight.
Highlighting it, putting in bold and underlining it.
All right, then.
Fair enough.
Italics.
Look, my highlight for the weekend was Michael Jamison's 100th game for Carlton. He's had a few injuries. He's been a little bit unfit, but he's had some very good form, especially this year. Thought he played a good game again, even though Tippett did kick a few goals. But I thought Jamison has had a spectacular year. Has been a very good pickup for us. I think, if I'm right, we got him from the rookie list. And although I could be confusing him with someone else.
No, it was him. Gavin Krasiska brought him in, coached him at some other regional level and brought him in.
Yeah, another thing to thank Collingwood for. But yeah, Jamison has been a good find, and congratulations to him for getting to 100 games.
Yep.
So that's that's pretty much my highlight. So we're going to move into the Sydney game. Talking about the Sydney game, we're going to go through this pretty rapidly before we're joined by the throng from Collingwood.
It's against Hawthorn and
Yeah,
Essendon
they've been good in all of them, really.
and Sydney, and they've got Collingwood next Friday night, Lee, which is just massive, isn't it?
Always a big game, Collingwood Carlton, no matter where they are on the ladder, but they're both fighting for spots. Collingwood a little bit more entrenched.
So that's it, the Swans win. They did it the hard way in the end. They got the big lead, and then they were challenged.
And there we go, the aftermath of the game on the weekend. Guys, I don't want to spend too much time on the Sydney loss. We don't like spending too much time on it, but just a few key things. As Devoid of Caring astonishingly mentioned earlier, 100 tackles to 95 was a very good tackle count. We beat the Swans in the clearances, 48-47. Hit-outs, they beat us in 53-52. So it was a very close inside game. But in the end, they beat us by a small margin. So yet again, another close game for us. How did you see the game? Very quickly, ODN.
Okay, just quickly. Tippett got away on us a little bit early. He was playing dry weather football in the wet. Weight was well held. Betts and Garlett didn't have any real presence for us. It's a bit of a concern. I thought Cruiser and Judd were good. And McLean had a bit of a down night, which is surprising because the wet should be a bit of a leveller and it should play to his lack of pace, but he really didn't get going. We were carved up a little bit by Bird and O'Keefe, but surprisingly, for the type of game it was, we had 15 contested marks to 4. So in the air, we were doing fairly well, and no small part to credit. No small credit should go to Henderson, who was outstanding in that regard. And as I mentioned in my highlights, Simpson was as desperate as I've seen him in a long, long time, and he's really becoming a good defensive player.
Excellent. Okay, I know Jab's going to have a fair bit to say, so we'll get to him now. JustaBattler, how did you see the game on the weekend, mate? We've got a short period of time, so.
I think that we could have won that game. Again, 4 or 5 missed fairly standard opportunities, kicks at goal. I know a few blokes watched the game, but Lucas from 15 metres out, Walker, 2 or 3 other snaps. It was a wet, high contested inside game, and they come out on trumps I think. The score flattered them, I thought. 22 points, wasn't it?
Yep.
Again, just further evidence we're improving every week, but just not quite there.
Good summation. Happy Dude, how did you see the game on...
Well, very quickly, rained a lot more than what I thought and the weather girl said it would, which seemed to have a big impact on the game. Having them play in the wet the previous week against Port Adelaide, I think they came out on top knowing exactly how the ball was going to fall and had the experience from a week prior where they were a bit shell-shocked in the wet by Port Adelaide. They obviously moved it forward at every cost, which we didn't do. We spent a lot of time just trying to pick it up and be a bit, hands-on with it and overuse the ball a little bit. When they did get it in their hands, they bombed it forward, and that proved very costly for us, especially early in the game, where we just couldn't get it away from them, because every time we moved it, they just bomb it back in.
Yeah. They did seem to flood our forward line.
That's Sydney way.
Well, there was just nowhere to move. It was quite astonishing. We couldn't get any inside, and our small forwards were just completely ineffective.
Yeah, I said it last
game.
week. The small ground hurt us in that aspect.
Yeah.
The turnovers hurt us as well.
Yeah, it's you were right. We were right on that count. It was a good call. We were absolutely swamped up forward. We had no room to move. Small forwards couldn't get into the game, and it really does highlight the need for a second big forward down back. Casbolt was pretty ineffective during the game, I thought. So, in the wash-up, it was a game we could have won, but we didn't. And just last time we played in that kind of rain up in Sydney, we actually beat the Swans, but that was in 2011 under Ratton. So yet again, perhaps something to consider as to whether we've improved, because the game was almost identical in terms of weather, in terms of personnel. The only real difference is the coaching. So that's just thought I'd throw that out there.
40-year.
Hey! No need for that.
I reckon there's no comparison. I mean, our team's playing much better football this year.
I'm with Jab on that.
I think on a consistency basis we are, but in terms of winning games that we should be winning, that we're not, I'm not so sure that we are yet.
Yeah, that comes down to structure and trying to get consistency of a best 22 down. Malthouse doesn't really let that happen because he's trying to cycle through everyone quickly.
I'm not saying it won't happen, by the way. I'm not saying that we should get rid of Malthouse. I'm just saying that
I didn't think you were.
On a straight-out comparison, there are games this year that we would have won if we'd been using an older system, but there are also games we would have lost if we'd been using the older system as well.
I know. Sorry, I know Jab will respond to this. At the selection table, we were both a little bit miffed last week. I thought McInnes should have come in for Bootsmart. I thought Bell should have been in wherever. Just because that's his bread and butter. Exactly where he should have been, in the clinches, hitting hard, tackling hard. His skill level doesn't matter in the wet like that. He would have been the perfect player, almost first selected.
If I remember correctly, the weather report actually didn't have it raining that much until that morning. They thought it was just going to clear up during the day or not rain as hard.
I'm wondering if, like McInnes, would have been allowed to play in that anyway, given he's just coming off a severe leg injury.
Yeah, possibly.
In that kind of weather.
Or Bell was Bell an emergency? I can't remember who the emergency was. That would have been a late change as far as
the old Boots. I really like the kid. I think he's copping a bit of bagging, but really he shows a lot of good attributes. The problem is he's 10 to 15 kilos too light for the job he's asked to do.
Terribly light.
As a defender, I've seen blokes just lean on him and push him out of the way. Literally just lean on him. And it's not from him want of trying. He just hasn't got the fucking size.
He needs that that Dustin Fletcher type role where he's not actually really manned up on someone.
Yeah, or play him on the wing. Give him some space because he's got a bit of toe.
He needs to be a third man up type, not a...
That unaccountable Nick Maxwell, look at me, I'm a stupid captain type role.
He's probably not experienced.
Time is coming for that kind of talk.
I mean, but Bell, I was fascinated to see Bell not given a run.
Yep.
And, McInnes might not be quite ready, but, geez, he had some good form in the VFL.
I think he's closer to ready than not ready now. I think we'll see him very soon in the side.
And a Watson, I reckon even a Watson, I think wasn't he an emergency originally?
I know the guys that watch the VFL that actually go out there, they're actually pretty hot on Watson at the moment, but I'm watching the same, from what I'm seeing on TV, and there's been 3 games in the last 4 weeks on TV, and I'm not seeing what they're seeing in Watson yet.
Well, you see, the positives are he's probably our best kick from back there.
Yeah, look, we're going to get to those replacements after we've talked to the Collingwood guys, but that's coming up now, and so here's a bit of a trip down memory lane before we go over to them.
What is that time for Collingwood to get up? They'll fight for everything. Carlton won the 1979 premiership. Well, there's the siren and Carlton won the 1981 grand final.
It's been all about fifth. It's rolling towards the boundary line and Harms almost makes ground. He tips it back to Sheldon. It's a goal! Forward, Starcevic.
As soon as I got here, it was made very obvious to me that I was supposed to hate Collingwood, and at the time I really had no idea why. I knew I did, but I just wasn't sure why. And
Welcome to a special event in the history of the Carlton and Collingwood broadcasts. We've got a very large panel here this evening to discuss all things Carlton and Collingwood. We've got a very rich history, a rich tapestry of events, and so we would like to canvass that with our brethren, as it were, our lost brethren, for some of us, from just down the track in Victoria.
Our ugly cousins.
Thank you. And so just to introduce everybody for the benefit of our listeners, Magpie Girl is here from Collingwood.
Hi, everybody.
And the Old Dark Navies is here, as always, from Carlton.
I'm excited.
And Shpeshal Ed is here from Collingwood.
G'day, guys.
happydude is here from Carlton.
Hello.
Optimax is here from Collingwood.
Hey guys, hope everyone's well.
DevoidOfCaring is here from the Carlton board. JustaBattler is here from the Carlton board.
G'day.
And I am, of course, here from the Carlton board. I am the Wookie. Guys, what would be your favourite memory of a Carlton-Collingwood clash? Perhaps we'll start with Magpie Girl. Girls first. Sorry, guys.
Any game where we've beaten you.
Well, that wouldn't be many.
Well, we've
many
got one on
memories
the
as
board
us.
this year.
We got one on us this year, but history tells us that 51.6% of the time Carlton will win these games, and even more so in finals. So,
Yeah, but you
and
haven't
even
been
more
front
so
for a
in
while,
grand
so
finals.
We're still in front.
You're
Yeah,
still
but,
in front.
Yeah, but I mean, 60% of all stats are made up on the spot. 40% of people know that.
Unfortunately for Collingwood people,
Right,
we
Omar.
actually have access to records and things because we know how to read.
Oh,
And
come on.
Oh, this is going to be dirty.
just said you guys started this. We were having a civilized discussion about, what our favourite memories were, and then, we're better than you, so, I just had to basically say that stats say otherwise. 246 games played, 125 wins to Carlton, 117 losses to Carlton, or 117 wins to Collingwood, and 4 draws for a 51.6% ratio to Carlton. Just over time, it's also 5-1 in grand finals, if you're wondering.
Well, again,
Not
we've
that anyone's
been
keeping
a lot
count.
more recently than you have.
And I would like to say that while we don't have your 26 wooden spoons, 26 runner-up trophies, we've got more grand final wins. So
Just
it is a pleasure to have you all here.
How many wooden spoons do you have though?
3.
Just 3 or?
Yeah.
Yeah, just 3. The 3 we
All
won
in
in
the
the
last
last 10 years.
The 3 we won from
That's it. We're the last
2002 to
club to win one.
2006.
It's been a good
It's
10 years.
sad that all your glory is in the past, though, isn't it?
That's the one stat you guys have got over us.
You
actually.
guys win a grand final every 20 years, and you're going to come up with us and tell us that our grand final glories are in the past.
Yeah, well, when was the last one?
Well, 95 for us, but
I rest my
Good
case.
old days.
well. How is Nathan Buckley working out over there?
Well enough.
Yeah.
Hands up those who love Nathan.
Can't we all just get along?
Me.
All right, look, I know I've asked Magpie Girl already what her favourite memory was. Devoid of Caring, what's your favourite Carlton Collingwood memory?
Don't. You already know I'm not going to give an answer. Just move on.
JustaBattler, what's your favourite Carlton Collingwood memory?
I love the games between Carlton and Collingwood. They are real Melbourne tribal events, and I've got a soft spot for Collingwood. So I love the games. My favourite memory, I think it's just a compilation of Eddie McFatchin's face over the last few years. Just the ever-changing shades of purpley red.
That's the Bake 13 coming out there.
Yeah, I recommend Wookie's posted on a more serious note. Wookie's posted a three-part series on our forum today. The 1980 grand final, leaving the result aside because we know how that goes in a grand final mostly. I thought it was fascinating listening to the Collingwood players talk about it. Yeah.
You talk about the 81 grand final.
I was about to say 80 was Richmond Collingwood, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No,
81. Sorry.
He's talking about the final story series that they did in '81 for the '81 grand final that had like Hafey and all those guys. I think.
Peter Moore.
Yep.
Yeah, I recommended viewing.
And Optimaxis, what would be your favourite Carlton Collingwood memory?
Oh, I've got a couple. Didac cleaning up Scotland right in the middle of the ground, and I think escaping suspension is right up there with me.
I happened to see that today, actually.
And my earliest football memory, going to the game and watching my dad celebrate Mick McGuan kicking his goal after all those bounces, that has to be right up there too.
It's a very annoying memory.
Thanks. Annoying for some.
Thanks for giving us McGuan too, by the way. That was well done, well played.
That's why we knew we couldn't run anymore. We just weren't sure if you did.
Obviously not.
Well trolled by Collingwood there. ODN, what's your favourite Carlton Collingwood memory?
Look, like Jab, I love this rivalry. I've got a little bit of respect for it because there's quite a lot of supporters on Big Footy who like to claim, you can have your derbies and your showdowns, and you can have your Essendon Collingwood games and whatnot, but there's a lot of teams that claim to be the biggest rival of either one of our teams. But the consensus from most of our supporters is that it's Carlton Collingwood. Carlton supporters think it's Collingwood, and Collingwood supporters largely think it's Carlton. So there's a little bit of respect about what constitutes a real rivalry that lasts for a long time. And this one's lasted ever since the formation of the suburbs, when the rich Carlton effluent used to travel down through the streets of Collingwood. Well, and I'm not being Bay 13 here. That's actually in Carlton's history book as far as one of the reasons that it started the rivalry between the haves and the have-nots back in that time, and since then, Carlton and grand finals has been a special memory for me, and I'll probably looking at 79 and whether Collingwood supporters think it was in or out. That was a special time. 1981, 21 points down just before three-quarter time. Collingwood thought they had it, and again on that TV program, they thought they were just about there, and Carlton kicked a couple of late goals in that quarter, and then said, "They're tiring. Get the next goal and we will win," and that's exactly what happened. We closed it out. So 1981 grand final for me was probably the best one.
I said one highlight, not your life story, Odin. But thanks anyway. And Shpeshal Ed, I'm going to assume you have some sort of favourite memory that involves some sort of thuggery or cheating.
Yeah, look, I'm probably not old enough to obviously have any memories of beating Carlton in the grand final. But for me, like Optimax, I'm probably the same with Mick McGuan. Doubly the fact that it was the Dacos tribute match as well. So Dacos was always my favourite player growing up. So the fact that we won that game and Mick McGuan kicked that goal of the year during that match is probably my best memory, I'd say. Funnily enough, another memory that's always stood out in a Collingwood-Carlton game, and it's weird because I was only really young at the time, but I actually remember Silvani's mark of the year that he took.
Yeah, over
at Waverley, I think it was. Was it 88?
I think it was.
Even though I was only, 8 years old at the time, for some reason I remember being at that game and that mark as well, which is strange.
Yeah, I rate that over Jezelenko's, to be honest, although...
Yeah, it was a good mark.
Yeah, good mark.
Happy Dude, what's your favourite Carlton Collingwood memory?
I've actually got one that would probably strike Carlton supporters as a bit different. As far as an individual memory goes, it was actually after a game that we had lost to Collingwood in the last few years, and we caught the train back. It was a bit quiet on the train, and obviously all the Carlton supporters hanging their head in shame, can't believe that we lost to this mob. And this little kid who was probably about 8-10 years old, decked out in Collingwood gear with his dad who had tattoos everywhere in Collingwood gear, just broke the silence by looking up at his dad's mate and going, "They even cheat in grand finals. That ball was out." And then this would have happened 40 years before this kid was born.
Good train.
And the whole carriage just burst out with laughter. And yeah, that's probably one of my favourite memories involving Collingwood.
It is.
I think that memory. I think the harms thing passes down through the DNA with Collingwood supporters.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of someone brought up the Didac incident earlier, and glossed over the 7 goals that Fev kicked that day.
Yeah.
That was 2008, I think.
Was that when he kicked 6 of them on Harry O?
It was when he kicked 4 in the last quarter, I think, that day. We won that game. But I think my favourite recent memory is the round 4 game that year. I think where we broke a massive run of losses that we'd had against you guys, and Eddie was awesome. Like, "We're going to keep doing this forever," and it was like, okay, but so that would be
right though, Wookie. It really is a fantastic rivalry that exists between the two clubs, and it's one of the really exciting things in the game, and I think it's great that you have this wonderful, passionate build-up to every encounter.
I think there's one thing we can all agree on here, and that is we all hate Essendon.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, Essendon people seem to think that
even Essendon hate Essendon.
Essendon seem to think that they're our number one rival. Essendon seem to think that they're your number one rival. And I think at the end of the day, we really couldn't give a crap. Because, to create that rivalry with Collingwood, they've had to artificially, generate this Anzac Day rubbish. And fair enough.
If they take away 2 of their cheating premierships, that knocks them back down to 14, and then there's no more rivalry.
I think it's a more recent, for more recent Carlton people, it might be a little bit more of a rivalry. But for anyone with half a decent memory, we never forget down at Princess Park. We will never forget. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter, if Eddie donates all of his money to charity, and Collingwood turn into, a bunch of bunny-hugging people that wear pink and, help old ladies across the street and, invest in, curing AIDS, or Harry O'Brien becomes the Secretary General of the UN, or whatever happens.
That'll happen.
Wear baby blue jumpers.
Collingwood will always be those people that we like to hate, and there's not quite a rivalry in Australian sport like it. The origin thing that rugby league have, it's more recent. It's not got the same vintage behind it. Ever since you guys came on the scene, you started trying to get under our skin. You sent you made our people work on grand final day so they couldn't play in the game in 1910.
Correct.
We've never forgotten that. And
I'm pretty sure as well that if it wasn't for us, there wouldn't be a Collingwood Football Club, because I would remember reading somewhere that the Carlton Football Club at the time sacrificed some games to allow Collingwood the fixture to enter the VFA.
Correct.
Yep.
That is true, yep.
So we're doing a lot of talking here, guys, us Carlton people.
Well, while we're on the subject of rivalry, do you think that you now having Mick Malthouse at Carlton has increased the rivalry?
I think you having Buckley as a coach is increasing the rivalry more, because I hate that big jam.
I think we were really...
As Carlton supporters, before you guys joined the conversation, we started to go down an interesting lane, Kerrawookie. The jury's out on Malthouse.
It is it is absolutely. But I think we're better off, and there's not a Carlton supporter, well, not a real Carlton supporter out there. There are some weirdos and extreme elements that will tell you that Ratton still should be there. But Malthouse has definitely improved the team.
Probably the same guys that were cutting their memberships up when we sacked Fev. Them drop kicks.
There's always extreme elements that will disagree, but Malthouse was necessary to bring the team up to a more competitive standard. And while we're not winning,
has he actually done that, though?
We're not winning as many games as we could have yet.
We haven't been flogged, though.
But we've never been flogged this season, and that is going to come to us.
Sounds pathetic. If you can turn that crappy Collingwood mob from wooden spooners to runners up in 3 years. You can take a team that can actually win grand finals to a couple of premierships, surely.
Now, how many premierships have you won since... how many
premierships... take over Hawthorn.
How many premierships did you win after Malthouse left Collingwood? I'm just throwing that out there.
You're being quiet, mate. Go for it.
It's a good question. I'd like to pay it some respect. We under Malthouse we have more intensity than we did last year. We don't drop off and play weak football, but we aren't getting the results. I feel that he's taken away some of our flair, some of our attacking flair that might actually blow games apart. So teams will stay, even teams that the wins we've had, we've enabled teams to get back into the contest. So somewhere along the line, Malthouse has quelled some of our positives, but he's also introduced. Yeah, look, and I agree. You guys, I agree with Collingwood supporters when they talk about Malthouse having favourites. We can already see that's happening.
Yeah.
It's players that he'll keep out of the team, and players that he'll leave in there when they probably should be getting a rest. So we've already seen that, and every time it happens at selection time, you go, yeah, look, they did warn us. So it's sort of a little bit of the good with the bad. We feel like he's probably setting us up long term, but he was brought in to be the cream on top of our cake, and we have no cake. So that's the issue. Like how much time do we give him? Because a full rebuild was never what was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
I've actually got a funny. I mean, obviously I could be very wrong. I've always had a sneaking suspicion that Sticks actually wanted Ruse, and when he couldn't get Ruse, he needed something to obviously calm down the whingers that were getting a little bit rowdy within Carlton, and I think they got Malthouse out to do that, and which is why they've only given him the 3 years. I've got a funny feeling he'll still keep working on Ruse and give Mick his 3 years.
Ruse hates Carlton.
He was a Carlton supporter.
He was a Carlton supporter growing up.
So was Goddard.
Apparently.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I've got a few relatives that are Carlton supporters, unfortunately, and I've got a few mates that are too. And it's funny, like, for years, not all Collingwood supporters on the board. I know I've got a nice collection of cards from before Mick left that had to do with my hatred of him. But it's funny, for years I used to complain about the fact that Mick just wasn't very aggressive at the trade table, wouldn't, get the big names, wouldn't do any of that sort of stuff. And I just found it funny that the first off season at Carlton, I had all my Carlton mates and stuff coming up to me going, why the hell didn't Mick pick anyone up? And I just said, guys, get used to it, because that's what the next 3 years is going to be.
Mick's very confused because when he was at you guys, he didn't rate ruckman and made very token efforts to fix your ruck problems. Before he finally got Jolly in, but he had a lot of time, and that was one of the biggest bugbears for Collingwood supporters. Now he's come to Carlton, he's got 3 ruckmen, and he's got no idea what the hell to do with them.
Yeah.
Where do I put these guys on the field?
It sounds
play all
about
of them
right.
at once.
All right, if we can turn our attention briefly from the historical and coaching issues of the two clubs, if we can steer it towards perhaps Friday night's game. It is a very big clash for both sides, both coming off losses. Collingwood are 8th, Carlton are 9th. It's a relatively big deal. It'll be in front of, I think yesterday the AFL was saying that there were 2,000 public tickets left for the game, which isn't too shabby. I think it's a Carlton home game, is it?
Yeah, it's Carlton.
So we're leading into this, 9th v 8th, so how are we seeing the game on the weekend?
I think it depends which Collingwood team runs out.
You could say the same for us.
Say that for us too.
But I think if the same Collingwood team that ran out, say, against Geelong comes out there, then it should be not a walkover, but it should be over relatively quick. If the same Collingwood that's been playing for the last, close to a month comes out, then I'd say you guys will probably run all over us.
Well, statistically speaking, and I looked at this in the preview that I wrote up for the Carlton forum, statistically Carlton are a better side. But
even with your losses, you've had the better form. We wouldn't have been able to get anywhere near Hawthorn or Sydney or Geelong or Essendon the way you have. the playing the football we have since basically the Geelong game.
Well, what's happened there?
It more or less teams have worked out how reliant we are on Cloak. I think you put a man in front of Cloak, which I imagine will be Henderson, and it seems to shut us right down.
I think Jamison, last time we played, Jamison beat him just 1-on-1 for the most part.
Yeah,
guys...
I think our biggest problem is just we just don't seem to want to run at the moment.
Well, historically, our small forwards have posed problems for you as well, but then again, historically, you have new guys that come out of nowhere and perform like freaking superstars against us.
We've had 5 goals from that Blair bloke. Where the fuck did that come from?
Elliot
this year, Blair last year.
5 goals.
For Solo, I think, the year before.
Nightmares about that. The guy was 50 metres in the clear every bloody time he got the ball.
I'm waiting for Seedsman to run out and have a best on ground against us.
Well, Seedsman was their highest possession getter last week. So
he's a good player. He's a good player.
How about it? Seedsman, Maxwell, Russell, Jay Thomas, 4 of their top 5 possession getters last week. And that's something you wouldn't normally see from a Collingwood team.
I think Collingwood.
I forgot to check if Dwyer was back in for them, but I wouldn't mind if he was the number 1 possession getter. I've got a bit of a soft spot for young Sammy.
I think Collingwood would have to take some comfort from the fact that our small brigade that have caused them so much trouble in the past, like Betts, Garlett, Yaron, they're a bit out of sorts at the moment. Betts hasn't been near the footy in weeks, really. Garlett couldn't buy a goal at the moment.
Yeah, but you know how you guys are. As soon as you see the black and white jumper, they all become friggin' Brownlow medalists.
Well, Eddie Betts will hit form if Harry O's anywhere near him on the ground, won't he?
Oh, I doubt Bucks will be playing Harry O on him. I'd wager that there'll be a combination of Sinclair, Marley Williams, and I'm not even too sure whether it's Russell or Heath Shaw or one of them will be on him.
They should put Russell on him.
How is Jordan Russell down there?
Russell on Yaron will be nice.
So who do you think the 3 Carlton players are that we need to look out for?
Well, Cruiser for a start. Remember what he did to your mate Jolly in the first game? Put him out of the game, 1 tackle.
He then got Lynch playing his best game for the season.
Yeah,
Lynch
was
playing centre half forward for you, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He had a very good game, Lynch, that game, but he was playing sort of like 2 roles. But in the centre bounces, in the clearances, Cruiser destroyed him.
I reckon if Gibbs can keep up his form from the past couple of games, the Hawthorn and Sydney games, took a little bit to get going in the Sydney game. He might be a bit dangerous at getting the ball out to someone who's running past.
Look, in dry conditions, I need to know first if are we expecting Reid to play? He's listed for a test. Reid, Jolly, Goldsack, Beams all listed as test on the Collingwood injury list. It's 4 good players to come back if they come back. And did anybody know?
Beams won't and Goldsack won't.
Yep.
I think Clinton Young might be a surprise inclusion.
Clinton Young played very well on Saturday. I was at your VFL game, actually, at Victoria Park, and between Cracker and Clinton Young, did very well.
I think Cracker needs to come in.
Yeah, Cracker was best on ground for me on Saturday when I was there.
Yeah, I think Cracker and Elliot down there hopefully can pose a little bit of a threat alongside Cloak.
Look, Jared Wade will give you problems if Reid isn't coming in.
Yeah, Jared Wade, if he can get back to that form he had against Essendon on the dry ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to say the game against Sydney didn't really help Jared Wade's kind of play.
Yeah,
no.
At all.
That's nothing to go by. That rain.
Just statistically speaking, Carlton and Collingwood are very close in a lot of areas and very far, especially when it comes to the in-close stuff. The contested areas, contested marking, 3rd v 5th, Carlton's way, marks inside 50, 4 v 5. This is in terms of the league. Then you get things like hit-outs where Carlton are 8th and Collingwood are last in the league. Clearances, Carlton are 7th, Collingwood are 14th. Disposal efficiency, Collingwood are 5th, Carlton are 8th. So,
really, 5th?
Yeah. Well, this is before this weekend's games.
Sounds too high.
For goals scored, Carlton are 7th, Collingwood are 9th. For behind scored, Carlton are 3rd, Collingwood are 4th.
Oh, shit.
For accuracy, Carlton are 13th, Collingwood are 15th.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
That's our season. Actually, I was looking at the Queen's birthday matches for another project I do, and I was noticing, they kicked 9 goals, 32 or something? Anyway, there's a couple of years back. Tackles, 8th v 10th Carlton's way. You know, it's all up. It's fairly even. Inside 50s, 5 v 4 Collingwood's way. So,
I reckon Yaron will have a good one.
Well, yeah, you don't want to know where the bounces are. I think bounces were 1 and 2 actually. Carlton first, Collingwood second.
Okay.
So, not really a stat I put. Sorry.
It should be an even game.
Look, it has the potential to be a very easy game, and as I always do, I tip a win to Carlton by 21 points. But I tip that margin every game, except where I go out for like 80-point wins that we manage to scrape home in.
No, I think if you've been watching Collingwood all this year, if Carlton wins, they'll win big. It won't be close.
That seems to be the pattern, isn't it?
Collingwood hasn't lost the game by less than 6 goals this year.
All right, just heading into the game, Carlton have lost the last 6 of 8 against Collingwood. We won 2 games last year, which was great, but we've lost like every other game for the last 4 years. Magpies are ranked first in the AFL for uncontested possessions. Blues are 16th. If Collingwood can get outside of us, we're screwed.
They can feed it out to the Swanee the Seagull. He'll have a field day against us.
Yeah.
If you compare the 2 teams for this round as opposed to the 2 teams that played in round 3,
yeah,
are they sort of similar?
The Carlton lineup will be pretty similar.
Yeah, the Carlton lineup is about as close to full strength as we can get.
And I think Collingwood's in better shape than they were then. I think.
On paper.
Yeah, I go back and remember the outs Collingwood had in round 3.
These matches have a history, though, of not really paying attention to the team or form on paper. It can go either way.
Kind of the emotion on the day, isn't it? Who gets away first?
They have an annoying way of going against whatever the form guide says. So, what are you tipping for the weekend, guys?
Should we go around?
You ask?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
Carlton by 50.
Carlton by 50.
All right, you better not be, Doc.
No one's going to tip against their side, are they? So we'll move along.
I actually think, depending on the team that runs out, it'll either be Carlton by 25 or Collingwood by about 11.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've had 4 big. This is our 4th of 4 big games in a row, and we haven't won the other games, so the confidence is at an all-time low. And we lost you the first time around in round 3 when we thought we might have a better chance. I don't know. We're looking for that Malthouse gloss to rub off and for the wins to start coming against highly credentialed teams, and it's not happening. So, if we can get a 1-point victory, I'll be happy. But I have no confidence.
It's got to happen eventually. Otherwise, these questions about Malthouse are just going to keep getting asked and asked and asked.
He's gone.
He's gone.
How do you feel when you see the way he was talking to the players the other night?
I've always said when Ratton was coaching at times, he needed to go down there and get the Park and Vane popping.
That's what I want,
See, Malthouse is nothing when you've had a team that's been coached by guys like Barassi and Parkin. And I think Jesselenko nearly had a heart attack one weekend. But, when you've had guys like that, there's no real... Malthouse doesn't hold a lot of fear in terms of a team, but as for this team, maybe.
pretty sure Barassi once made them pull the bus over outside Geelong, and he made the players walk because he wasn't happy with their attitude.
As long as it's not like Robert Walls and his boxing lessons at Brisbane, I think we'll be all right. So I'm told the Collingwood board have put together some questions for the Carlton people. We didn't do this because, quite frankly,
This should be good.
and I have had a glance at the questions that have been recommended. So
Can I fire one back at them?
You let the Collingwood people get their questions out of the way.
Well, look, I have managed to weave a few into the conversation. So
I've heard that.
when I did go through the questions, and you can see there were quite a few, they seem to sort of fall into 4 categories. And I think the first one was obviously Malthouse, and we've covered that. The second one was Rivalry, and I think we've covered that too. And talked a bit about the game. The other category that a few people had questions about was the trade, wanting to know who Carlton might put on the trade table this year.
Who do you want?
Ruckman.
Do you want Joseph?
You can have
Get me Russell.
you can have Robbie Warnock. I will put him in a box and mail him to you.
Somebody said, "What
Warnock,
would
I'll
you want him?"
take him.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's Carlton. We'll trade anybody.
I will give you Robbie Warnock for one of your water boys.
Oh no!
Because he'll-
Can of worms again.
Because he'll cover more ground.
You sure you
You
don't want
guys,
to
you guys actually been watching Jolly
And you're
lately?
into
You can't
water
jump
boys.
over a tin can. I'll take Warnock.
Well, you,
Oh, who you give us for
You may as
Warnock?
well just get a bean pole in the middle with a hand on it, according
Yeah.
to Wookie there.
telephone pole with a hand on it, do the same job.
Do a better job than Jolly.
He'll win your centre bounces and do nothing else.
Playing a man down.
He he may as well get a lawn chair and sit in the middle of the ground.
We'll swap your Warnock for Payne.
Yeah, no, that's
I
not gonna
actually
happen.
like
I will be
Keith.
keeping Payne.
Oh, well, there you go, see?
Yeah, and
We'll
I like
swap-
Keith
we'll
that
swap you,
Collingwood's got running around as well.
We'll
Yeah,
swap
he's
you
good.
Warnock for Jolly if you want.
It takes a
We didn't
while.
want
Warnock for Seedsman.
It takes an awfully long time to adopt a Collingwood supporter into the Carlton side. They just don't feel like a Carlton player. Scotland took a fair while, and now he's one of ours. But gee, it's a tough ask.
Funny you should mention that. I was at Scotland's, watching Scotland's 250th or whatever it was, or one of his milestone games for us. My mum goes, "Has he been with us that long? I still think of him running around in a Collingwood jumper, and it was only this year."
What about Daisy? Are you after him?
No, I don't want him.
Good.
I wouldn't mind him, but I wouldn't chase him actively. His ankle's probably rooted.
I would.
Although,
Well,
getting his
he's
ankle
probably
fixed on
worth,
Collingwood's
second-
money.
Well, he's probably worth a second or third round pick.
Yeah.
See what we can.
No.
They
He's
can
a-
have
he's a-
Warnock.
He's a restricted free agent. That's how we'll get him if we want him, and it's all going to come down to his relationship with Mick. We all know, they were pretty tight, and just a matter of whether he wants to leave his mates at Collingwood just to go somewhere where Mick is. I don't think he'll go. It's pretty hard to leave a whole lot of mates just to go and have a favourite coach, but I don't know. I don't know what the relationship with him and Bucks is, but you guys have got. I think you got the last reply on the salary offer because he's restricted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
right.
do have the right to match whatever it is.
It all
Yeah,
depends
but-
on Carlton want to throw at him.
Do you
Oh,
want
look,
to keep him?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. No, look.
The
I mean,
preference would be to keep him.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll go.
You
But
can-
there's just a lot of talk about him being,
You've got to
he's
ask.
being
You've got to
close
ask.
with
Same as
Malthouse.
Cloak last year. We've got to ask. It's not necessarily trying to poach players, but somebody's going to make an offer. GWS are going to make an offer. Somebody will make an offer. So it might as well be us, and you can't sit on your hands just waiting for your own players to develop because we're not developing players awfully fast.
You know what my favourite question on your board is that you never asked?
I haven't finished yet.
Why are you mad? Why are you mad?
Why are you
Darth?
mad?
You like that one, did you?
And I'll tell you if it's on my list.
I love this one. Do you think it was right for a former Carlton president to introduce a zoning plan when VFL presidents that deliberately advantaged his club for 20 years and had direct influence on your last 8
Oh, that's
flags
VJ Knight.
Can you sleep at night? Yes, I can. And I sleep bloody well.
It's, just like Hawthorne of the 80s, isn't it?
Well, I can sleep happily. Sorry, you had questions?
CJ Knight will be really happy that you answered that without me asking it. Just one more trade question.
Yep.
Would you consider trading Cruiser and Yaron for number 1 draft pick?
No.
Not both of them.
You're not going to get both for 1 draft pick. Doesn't matter if we had the first 2 draft picks, you still wouldn't get both.
Well, I think Swan answered the question anyway the other day on SEN. Cruiser's going nowhere.
Yeah, I think there's
He did say that.
There is a lot of faith in Carlton down there, but personally I think as a ruckman, we could possibly do better.
Ooh.
He's nothing. He's bored.
I'll be having words with you later, Wookie.
I'm sure
the
you
eight's
will
on
be.
me jumper, look.
I'm sure you will be, but let me tell you something. He is not much better than Warnock as a forward at the moment. He takes better
But
marks.
he's a ruckman, he's not a forward.
Yes, but the whole concept of having ruckman in this day and age is they have to be more than just a ruckman. You can't just...
Battering ram.
I'm tired of hearing about his 1%ers and all this other bullshit that he apparently does when he's on the ground. I want to see him actually make an impact.
They need to be able to get off the ground.
That sounds familiar to the Fraser argument that we used to have.
Don't you dare compare our ruckman to Tom Fraser.
It's pretty close. Cruiser might be a better
that's
mark,
what
but Fraser did everything else.
This conversation is over.
You just set him up for that, Whoop.
Yeah.
Hold your tongue, mate.
No, Cruiser's
From knowing Cruiser, he used to have Josh Fraser on his wall and was the player that he idolised, so maybe you've just picked up the Fraser clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why couldn't
It is Mick Malthouse. Ruckman aren't the priority on his list.
I didn't see Fraser go, hitting somebody like Cruiser hit Jolly last time. He's got a little bit about him, physicality-wise.
I think the problem with ruckman is we all look around at what Nick Nat Nui and Dean Cox have been doing for years now, and you want that kind of impact from a ruckman, or even what Mumford's doing this year.
Works.
And I think people get spoilt by that, and so gone are the days when you can expect a ruckman like Warnock to behave like Justin Madden did for his entire career. Aside from one loping gallop through the middle of the MCG in the '93 prelim. He was a ruckman first and foremost, and that was what he did.
Yeah.
But anyway, did we answer all your questions, Magpie Girl?
Well, just the another one to do with your team. People just want to know who some of the young kids are that you have to watch out for.
Bootsman.
I've got...
Troy Mental's going to be a superstar.
He is.
Yeah, we had this discussion last week, and the 3 kids that I have really big raps on, because I watch a bit of VFL games and stuff, is I reckon Buckley will come really good for us when he gets a bit of size about him. He's got a lot of skill there. Menzel is about in the same boat. He's got a lot of skill, and if he can keep injuries free, not like his brothers, he'll come good as well. He'll be one of those players, and I reckon Mitchell will step up in next year and come out and be a very good forward.
Yeah, that's pretty much my rating exactly.
Just want to
I
add.
don't know who Mitchell is.
Yeah, Nick Graham. Nick Graham's another one.
Nick Graham is another one. Yep.
I always forget about Graham.
I think I rate Lambert in the VFL side, but he's not actually Carlton listed. I reckon he might be drafted this year.
Someone will steal him.
They'll do. Yeah, I reckon he'll get drafted, but he's going to be one to watch in years to come, I think. But
Can
how
I
about
ask
you?
a question of the Collingwood people?
Go nuts.
Go for it.
So, the way I figure it is, a few of your players are kind of like haven't really got into fourth gear yet over the last month, as you've pointed out.
Most of our players.
Yeah, I can't help but suspect that there's a bit of sort of jealousy about how much money was paid to Cloak.
Nah.
I don't think there's too much of an issue with that. I still think that maybe, in all honesty, there's a decent chance that Buckley just doesn't have a lot of them on board at the moment.
That's what I think.
That.
And I actually think, if that is the case, I actually think Buckley should probably take a cue from himself from last year when he got on the front foot about the Malthouse issue and basically put everyone in the media on side. He should probably do the same now with the players. And if there is an issue with them, come out and put the heat straight back on them and say, look, I don't have all of them on board, but this is the situation. They're going to have to turn it around.
All right. We're going to have to wrap this up very shortly. I've got a main board podcast to do after this. But
it's been too friendly.
Yeah, I was a bit on guard and not what I expected.
Far too civilised.
I don't agree with any of that. I'm sorry.
Go on.
What's your view?
Well, I really like Buckley, and I think he has a great manner. I think it appears that he doesn't have the players on board, but I also think that as a team, our whole season has been so disrupted, and I don't even know whether or not we've had the same 22 out in the field 2 weeks in a row. I mean, we just haven't had an opportunity to get any cohesion or rhythm as a team, and I think that, you know, you look at Swan and Pendlebury, who have one really good week and then one not so good week. It just seems to me, and I'm not a student of the game like you guys, but that, you know, they carry a load that they just can't keep up every week, and I don't think it's not for want of trying. It just appears that way.
Welcome to Carlton's world. That's the sad truth, is that I think very few teams can field the same 22 or even the same 18 full games in a row. And those teams that managed to have a fluky run of no injuries, well, you saw it last year. They figured quite prominently in the ladder and in the competition.
Well, that's why
this year they get a couple of outs and they're nowhere.
Yeah. And if they can pull it together in the last part of the season, then that's when it counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I'm going to have to wrap this tete-a-tete, as it were, up. It has been great having you guys here. I'm very grateful for your cooperation and your civilised discussion on all things Carlton v Collingwood. I hope to do this again next time. Thank you, thank you very much for coming on board.
Not a problem.
Thanks for doing a joint one with us. It's been great.
Yeah, do it next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This has been a lot of fun, actually.
Good.
See you on the bay, Special.
Yeah, no worries, Battler. There's a card coming your way.
Including the loan woman.
Ladies and gentlemen, you haven't entered the Twilight Zone. That was the Carlton and Collingwood joint podcast that we just completed that segment of. We're back with our normal transmission, and the old Dark Navies is going to do board talk.
Yes, I am. Just a really quick one. The Carlton board on Big Footy racked up 1 million posts this week, and there's a bit of a thread going, reminiscing about some of the highlights of those of that first million, and it's good value. Check it out. That's it.
Alrighty, next week. Sorry, what was that, Happy Dude?
I said that is a good thread, just flicking through some of the whole, like, people mentioning things like the doctor's office and...
Yeah, exactly. Thylacine getting lost in the bushfires and whatnot. That was good times.
Yeah. Just on that thread that ODM mentioned before, the one I was trying to remember was that time Andrew Walker wore a hat and then the time he didn't.
Alright, time to sign off, guys. But before we do so, JustaBattler will be doing his own special rants from week to week, starting next week. And hopefully Doc will have his player focus segment up and running in our lifetime.
Hopefully this year.
That'll be good, and we'll find. And Happy Dude, you're not around next week.
Probably not.
Lazy son of a bitch. And anyway, signing off. The old Duck Navies. Good night to you.
Thank you, guys. It's been great.
DevoidOfCaring. Good night to you.
Good night.
Happy Dude. Good night to you.
Good night.
JustaBattler. Good night to you.
Wolfstone.
You can't see this, but I'm giving you all hugs.
Oh.
Very nice.
You're a bit sweaty too.